My ministry was born when I was 13 years old. My parents are missionaries in Africa. To this day, they still are. And so I grew up as a missionary kid from the time I was 9 till I was almost 19. And when I was about 13 years old, a family that we were connected with in Kenya were expecting their first baby. Now, in Kenyan culture, they don't talk a lot about pregnancy. It is considered bad luck, basically, to talk about the baby too much. And so one day, the husband was doing some work for my parents, and after the workday was done, he came to my mom and explained that his wife's water had broken. He didn't know what it was, but he described it to my mom, and my mom realized, oh, her water broke. But there was no contractions or anything. And so my mother said, hey, you need to get me to her right now. We need to get her to the hospital. And so they went and took her to the hospital. Come to find out that through 3 days prior to this, her mother had told her that she was gaining too much weight and the baby would be too big to be born. So she stopped eating for 3 days. It is very likely that the baby was gone before the water broke. There's so little nutrition in their diet anyway, and that 3 days lack of nutrition was just too much. What happened next was a long series of things. That there was a C-section, the doctor had just been drinking at a bar and he was not fully aware, and he nicked her bladder while he was doing the C-section, and all sorts of, it's a long, horrible recovery from the loss of this baby for this family. And I remember my mom telling me that when they placed the baby in the coffin, and when they were burying the baby, the extended family of this family wanted the baby to be born facing towards Mecca because that is the Muslim tradition. And the father said, no, this baby is not a Muslim, he is a Christian. And as they were placing the baby in the ground, my mom was just crying. And Arero told her, it's okay, Mama Abbey, God is still good. And I experienced this story secondhand, through my mom retelling, but it bugged me. It stirred me on a deep level, and I thought, if she'd just known the truth about how baby growth works, about what water breaking is, if she had just known these things, then her baby's life could have been spared. And it just felt so senseless to me. And so I decided that when I grow up, I want to work with babies somehow. I'm not sure what that is, but I want to work with pregnant, expecting mothers and babies and families and get them the knowledge and information that they need. And then, I became a teenager, and reality made me think, well, maybe I want to be a teacher. And I went to college and took a psychology class and thought, well, I love this. I want to be a counselor. And so was on that track for a while. And then I got married and moved out of state and had to drop out of college. And life just happened one step after another. And I was 22 years old and pregnant with my first daughter. And I was watching, documentaries, reading blogs, everything I could to be as prepared as possible for my birth. And I learned about what a doula was. And I thought, what an awesome job that is, to be able to make huge impacts on health just by sharing information. And even still, it didn't click for me. I do not know how. God is patient through my stubbornness, y'all. And so it wasn't long after my daughter was born that I decided to be a midwife. But I wanted to be a home birth midwife. I didn't want to be a hospital midwife. And so I was working on that track, even went to a local home birth midwives conference at the Gesundheit Institute, which was just an amazing experience. And it was there that I discovered that West Virginia was changing the laws so that you could not become a home birth midwife through apprenticeship like you used to be able to. You had to go to an actual home birth midwife school. The problem is there are not any of those in West Virginia. So there aren't any of those in West Virginia. So that made the home birth midwife path seemingly impossible. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I should go the hospital-based midwife track and try that. So I signed up for classes to go to nursing school, and still it didn't click. And so then I made the decision to work as a doula until I could actually be a midwife, because I thought, you know, if I'll be working in the birth world until I get there. And then once I started, I lit up. My whole world changed. It was like I saw my whole life laid out before me, and it was exactly what I'd always dreamed, and it was exactly what God called me to do. And I've been doing it ever since. I haven't looked back once. And it was about almost 3 years ago that I started feeling the calling to serve low-income families as a doula. And that wasn't a hard decision to make. My heart was already there anyway, because with both of my children, I couldn't afford a doula. I did have a doula with my second, but the only reason I could afford her is because she was a student and she was offering her services for free. We ended up paying her what we could, but if it hadn't been for that, I couldn't have afforded a doula. And again, the same indignation rose up in me as it did when I was 13. I thought, this service can potentially save lives. You know, C-sections come with severe complications sometimes, and birth comes with severe complications, and sometimes the thing that is needed to save a life is information. I had a woman who was not a client because she lived far away, but she was asking me advice, and I wasn't giving her super specific advice. Most of my advice was teaching her how to get informed consent on her own, since she wouldn't have a doula beside her because she couldn't afford one. And she told me afterwards, after her baby was born, that her doctor had admitted that he had not read her chart thoroughly when he was offering suggestions. And it just blew me away. You know, like this is something that could save lives, and some people can't afford it. It could save lives, and some people don't even know what a doula is. Feeling that familiar passion, that fire, it keeps me going on the hard days, y'all. Because there's just no reason that this service shouldn't be available to everybody. And that's what I try to do. I try to get my business out there to as many people as possible. Now, occasionally I will have people say something along the lines of, wow, you give lower cost services and you serve low-income families, that's amazing. And I'm not saying I'm not grateful for those compliments, and I'm not, you know, they definitely do keep me going sometimes. But I gotta tell you guys, it's not a sacrifice. Being a witness to what these amazing families go through and being able to share their journeys is unbelievable. And you know, not that I've never had financial struggles, and not that I wouldn't be much better off if I charged full price and went the full price doula route. It would be amazing. Like just like little things like being able to afford to pay for ads so that people could find me more easily. Little things like that would be amazing, for sure. But God always makes the money come exactly when it needs to come. I have very flexible payment plans, and so many times, you know, I'll have clients paying a little bit at a time, which is perfectly fine. It always works out that way. And you know, if you have several clients paying little bits at a time, then it's kind of getting lump sum sometimes. But I remember the first time that a client paid me the full amount at the birth, and we had just a couple days before a piece on the car broke. It was exactly the amount I needed to pay for that part on the car. Like, I was blown away at God's provision, because if they had paid little bits like everybody else, then I wouldn't have thought to, you know, save that exact amount of money, because I didn't know that exact part was going to break on my car. God is just the best coworker, and he has these amazing ways of keeping me encouraged and keeping me focused and keeping me financially secure. Even on the hard days when I'm just, you know, struggling with, you know, how do I keep doing this? How do I carry on? He always steps in, and he always gives me exactly what I need, and I wouldn't change a single thing. Now, I'm only one doula. It's weird because I don't want to ever have to be to the point of turning people away, but I want to get to the point where I have to turn people away, because I'm helping as many people as I physically can. And I have lots of ideas and dreams on how to help people when I get to that point, when I get to the point where I have to turn people away. I'm going to create a scholarship. I'm going to create probably a nonprofit funding for people to get doula care, to pay towards other doula services. I want to see if I can get other doulas to donate a birth a year or something to help out with low-income families. I have all of these dreams and ideas, and I'm just plucking away at them. I also hope to travel to foreign countries someday to help those people receive basic information on birth knowledge so that we can lose less babies to this world. Because you never know. You never know which baby is going to be a world changer, and we don't want to risk losing any of them. I also create online resources at low cost to help out. And I don't want to undercut other people's services. I don't want to undercut other people's classes that they have online. That's never my intention. And I struggle over that constantly because I do not want to steal anyone's business. And that is why I have my clients go through a discount qualification process and different things like that, because making sure that other doulas' services are valued, and that's very important to me. When I was choosing my name, Voices of Eve, there were several elements that came into play. Eve brings back to the roots of my Christian faith, and also she was the first woman, and she was her own doula and her own midwife, and her instincts was all she had to rely on. She'd never witnessed a birth or heard about birth or read a birth blog. She had to rely on her innate knowledge that God created her body to do this, and she can do it. Having her name in my ministry name calls back to that. The only thing that is required for birth is the mother and the baby. That's it. The Voices comes from the fact that we are all created just like Eve. Her voice has been rippling over thousands of years. Bits of advice carried on from mother to daughter to mother to daughter. Things that are deep within us that have been passed down. That is the voices of our ancestors carrying us through these difficult journeys of pregnancy, labor, birth, parenting, grandparenting. And it is also a calling out to the fact that we are not voiceless as laboring mothers. We have a voice, and it has the right and deserves the dignity of being heard. And that right does not change or become bigger or smaller based on how much money you make. And so that is my mission, to make sure that your voice and the voices of your ancestors are heard, and that your voice of your children will be heard even louder.